Yeah, good morning, dear jury. So today's my topic, the research of pharmacist awareness and attitude towards medicinal cannabis in Ukraine. The problem of the legalization of medicinal cannabis in Ukraine has become one of the topical issues the recent times. At present, the current Ukrainian legalization doesn't allow the research and use of cannabis and its derivatives for medical purpose. At the same time, over the last 5 years, more than half of the countries have been legalized cannabis for medical purposes. Recently, the World Health Organization has decided to review the level of control of cannabis compounds for giving the access of patients to the effective treatment and help to improve their quality of life. The aim of my work was to study the level of awareness and attitude of pharmacists in Ukraine about medicinal cannabis. To achieve this goal, the following tasks were set, so you can see them on the slide. Part number 1, investigating the level of pharmacist awareness about medicinal cannabis. For the survey, as the sampling frame was selected pharmacists of the different large pharmacy chains. The total number of respondents were 561. Most of them were women under 25 years old, and they have work experience from 2 to 5 years, and most of them work on the position as junior specialists. It's worth to say that according to the international convention, the cannabis resin is still listed as a particular dangerous drug. But World Health Organization is planning the global reclassification. Experts have concluded that the current classification that attributes cannabis to the same group as heroin, for example, is unjustified. At the same time, the benefits of the medical use were recognized. However, pharmacists are hardly aware about liberalization trend, and almost 3/4 of respondents consider that cannabis is a dangerous drug. The cannabis plant includes various biologically active substances and near 100 different cannabinoids. The most studied of them and currently used are tetrahydrocannabidiol and cannabidiol. CBD, they don't have a psychotropic effect, while THC has a moderate psychotropic effect. On the question to the respondents about their agreement with the following statement, near 70% of the respondents agreed that all cannabinoids have psychotropic effects and are addictive, and only 12.3% disagreed. The effect of cannabis compounds on the body is realized due to the endocannabinoid system, which has 2 main types of receptors. Accordingly, cannabinoids activate these receptors and can cause various therapeutic effects depending on their location. They are found in the brain, nervous, and immune system, so they influence on the main function of the human system in a whole. According to the obtained results, for more than half of the respondents, the information about the mechanism of action of cannabis is still unknown. But it's important to know that 34.9% agreed with the statement that there are cannabinoid receptors in the human body, and only 11.2% gave a negative answer. The main source for medical plant cannabis raw material is a species of cannabis sativa. In particular, there are 2 main groups: products containing psychotropic substances and products without it. What is important is that for cultivation of medicinal cannabis, we need to use the high technology in compare with the technical one. It's also necessary to comply with certain requirements that are presented on this slide. Respondents answered about this statement were almost divided, so it indicates that the low level of pharmacist awareness, and the respondents, they had some doubts while choosing the correct answer. Part number 2, analysis of the global market of medicines, healthcare products, and cosmetics based on cannabis.
Excuse me, what's the sounds? What's the sounds?
I don't know. It's something with my computer, and I do not.
Why you switch off a camera?
I don't switch off the camera. It's like automatically did it.
У тебя, Настя,
Switch off
4
your
штуки
camera.
тебя. И выключена.
Maybe
I have
let's I present one more time. Like I can close my presentation and can open it one more time.
Close. No, close.
Да, продолжайте, Настя.
You see my presentation, but you don't see me, yeah?
Да, мы видим, да, yeah. Please.
Okay, I continue, yes?
Yes, of course.
There are various classification of products based on medicinal cannabis, but in general, there are 3 main types of products. The first one, registered medicinal products. The next one, cannabis preparation manufactured in a pharmacy. And the last one, products containing CBD. For near 60% of respondents, this classification was completely new and they were not familiar with it before. Among the medicines that are registered in the United States, Canada, European countries, and they are used for medical purpose are Sativex, Cezamet, Epidiolex. These drugs are presented in various dosage forms for the treatment of the patient. But these drugs and their properties for the most pharmaceutical specialists were also unfortunately unfamiliar. In many European countries, a separate area is the manufacture of medicines on doctor's prescription. In this case, it's required to use standardized raw material, and now it's available in Netherlands and Germany. However, the most respondents don't support external production of cannabis-based products after its legalization, and so they were opposite about this point. According to the results, most pharmaceutical specialists are not familiar with the range and the properties of cannabis-based drugs. The next our step was the market analysis of cannabis-based healthcare products, and we have selected online service Amazon because it's one of the world's largest companies engaged in the selling of goods via the internet. The required products were selected using data from the Amazon site for 2018 year. We put the search term hemp because according to company policy, the sale of drugs is prohibited, including CBD-based products. At first, the selection of products were carried out in the category health and personal care, where 5 groups of products were chosen: vitamins and dietary supplements, health care, and sport nutrition. For example, some of the products presented on the slide, you can see them. It's transdermal patches, cooling gels, hemp powders, capsules, hemp oil, seeds for internal use. In this category, we found 128 cannabis-based products. Most of them were found in the category vitamins and dietary supplements. The variety of cannabis-based cosmetics is also steadily increasing on the market because hemp oil have different properties and benefits for the care of the skin of the face, body, and hair, and some examples are also presented on this slide. According to research, were found 723 products in the category beauty and personal care. According to the search results, the first place by the number of products were found in the skin care category, and the second place hair care products. According to the results, the range of healthcare products and cannabis-based cosmetics is gradually expanding and presented in various dosage forms due to the wide range of properties of hemp oil and high demand among consumers. Part number 3, the problem of legalization of medicinal cannabis and further directions. At the beginning of the survey, pharmacists were informed about the problems that currently about 2 million of patients with different diseases, they have no access to effective pharmaceutical care in Ukraine. Among the respondents, near 70% were informed about the problems mentioned above and knew that it was advisable to use cannabis-based drugs. One of the main questions was how the respondents relate to the legalization of cannabis compounds for medical purpose in Ukraine. So 20.5% they fully support cannabis legalization, and almost half of them support this decision but believe that there are some risks of using the cannabis compounds. So, this contradictory attitude among the Ukrainian society is due to the lack of reliable, up-to-date information. And as a result, there are a lot of prejudice among people. Moreover, almost 3/4 of respondents, they don't informed about the level of scientific base, and so they don't keep track of updating it. But in fact, the evidence base is rapidly expanding. For example, over the last 5 years, the total number of articles are doubled on PubMed. There are also some reports of National Academy of Sciences, reviews of Health Canada, and etc. However, it should be noted that more than 90% of respondents, they support this initiative and want to increase the level of their awareness. And one of the most important steps is to take actions to improve their level. And for example, one of the ways is learning and getting the basic knowledge about medicinal cannabis via their online courses, which are presented on the slide. Also, pharmacists, they fully support that it's important to include materials on the properties, clinical use of cannabis into the educational programs and to allow the scientific research in Ukraine. And this indicates that healthcare professionals, they are ready to look deeper into this issue and find ways to address it. And last but not least, that in order to identify the further directions in which it's worth moving, it's also decided to take into account the opinions of pharmacists. So the respondent said that it was very important to emphasize that medical and recreational cannabis use are different things. The next one informs that certain cannabis preparations don't contain or contain a minimum amount of psychotropic substances, and also to explain that using medical cannabis is sometimes the only alternative, for example, for treatment of some diseases. So, all in all, a sufficient amount of reliable and up-to-date information generates a lot of rumors and prejudice about the medicinal cannabis. To sum up, one of the most important steps by our government, along with the legalization of medicinal cannabis, is to bring to the specialists of healthcare system complete, reliable, and up-to-date information. The prejudiced attitude of different stakeholders may prevent patients from obtaining the available treatment. And today's world is developing, reviewing their decisions and expanding its capabilities to help the patient. And Ukraine shouldn't be an exception. We need to move with the times and increase the level of awareness as a specialist of healthcare system, as the Ukrainian society as a whole. And I really want to believe that this small step will become a part of the big changes in the future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you. You have two questions in the chat, or maybe someone wants to ask Anastasia.
Yes. Ola, I ask.
Жанна Николаевна, please.
Nastya, for what conditions cannabis-based drugs are prescribed the most often?
Okay, I want to say that evidence-based...
Thank you for questions, Nastya. Жанна Николаевна.
Sorry.
Давайте.
For your question, yes. The evidence base is increasing very rapidly, and according to the last clinical years, cannabis-based drugs can be used as antiemetics, for example, because they help to reduce the symptoms of vomiting and nausea, and to increase the appetite in patients who take chemotherapy drugs. It also helps to relieve the pain and spasmodic in patients with multiple sclerosis. And also one of the most perspective directions of cannabis-based drugs is to learn to elevate the severity and frequency of seizures in children who have epilepsy, and they to take CBD-based drugs for long-term conditions.
Are you satisfied?
Yes, I have second questions. What the types of raw material is used for manufacturing the cannabis-based drugs?
Thank you for your question. So, if we talk about the industrial cannabis, it's mainly used seeds from which we can get hemp oil. And if we talk about medicinal cannabis, it's mainly cultivated from the female flowers, and in some cases it can be used leaves.
Thank you. Nastinka, how you see development of medicinal cannabis market in Ukraine after legalization?
Thank you for your question. Okay, I see two main directions for developing in Ukraine. The first one, to establish the import of cannabis-based drugs to Ukraine for giving them to the patients who really need it. And the next one is to establish our own production, because we have all necessary for them. We have material basis. We have very good conditions for growing this. We have flowers, and this can help to do our own scientific discoveries in this direction, to increase the level of economy in Ukraine, and what is more important, make these drugs more available for the patients in compare with the foreign one.
Thank you.
Are you satisfied?
Yes, Настя, прекрасно.
Okay. Does anyone else?
Yes, I have.
I have questions.
Сергей Геннадьевич?
I
Кто
can?
задает вопрос?
I can?
Yeah,
Ma'am,
please,
ma'am,
Сергей
ma'am.
Геннадьевич.
Dear Nastya, do you agree that legalizing of medical use of cannabis has some social risks? For example, it can cause the spread of drug addiction. Do you agree that before legalizing medical cannabis, the government must first develop a strict control over the circulation of this drug?
Okay, thank you for your question. Really, I'm not totally agree with this point, because nowadays we have a lot of others drugs that can be addictive, and patients, they can get them on a doctor's prescription in drugstore. And why we think that if we will legalize cannabis-based drugs, it will give much more dangerous if we have the other addictive drugs with psychotropic effects on the market. In the market. So maybe, of course, the government should control the level, or should control the control the narcotic drugs in Ukraine in a whole, but like in a system for all drugs, not only for cannabis-based drugs. And really, if you compare the addictive level of cannabis-based drugs to the other substances, for example, alcohol is much higher, have level of addictive on the human body than cannabis-based drugs.
Thank you.
Ирина Владимировна, please.
No, I haven't. I absolutely agree with Nastya.
Is anyone want to have some questions? Or there are a huge question, Nastya, to you in the chat. Starts from Anastasia. Are you here?
Yes. Okay, and так.
The first question from me, 11-16. And then...
Okay. So the first question, what are the most common side effects after the using cannabis-based drugs? In general, according to the last clinical trials, the side effects are very commonly to already used medicines, and among them I can say that it's dizziness, it's vomiting, nausea, headaches, dry mouth. Some more serious are very rare among the patients. But I want to know that the investigations is still pursued in the world, and new data can appear, especially it concerns the drugs which have long-term using, for example, in children with epilepsy.
Thank you, Nastya. Next question, Sirachuk Alexander.
Okay, I want to assure that you see difference between medical cannabis and cannabis for medical purpose. Medical cannabis doesn't contain THC but CBD and not psychedelic. How to distinguish, is it medical cannabis growing or narcotic? Could you tell us? Medical cannabis growing. No, as I said that for getting the medical cannabis, we need special technologies, high technologies. We need pre-prepared base. It's very important to control the quality of control, the level of substances that contain this plant. So, and that's why it's very important to understand. Source of information. It was the articles of the foreign scientifics on among them PubMed, the different guidebooks. As I said, there are really lots of articles on this topic, and each day they are new and new. So the source of information was and aim of the work and practical value. Okay, as I said, the aim of my work was to understand the level of awareness of pharmacists in Ukraine, as we understood, we have low level of this awareness, and this can help us to analyze in what direction we should move and what should we do to increase this level. Because if the healthcare specialists will think that cannabis are dangerous drug, we won't have the liberalization of this, and our patients won't get the available treatment, because the doctors, the pharmacists, they will be afraid of prescribing these drugs. And it's very important to understand that the change is moving, and we should change our opinion to read scientific information and to change our attitude towards it.
Next.
Okay. What is the cannabis products? Oh, sorry. I have something. What is the benefit? What is the cannabis products on the Ukrainian market today? As I said, the sale of drugs contain cannabis-based plant is forbidden in our country. We just have a few products that contain hemp-based products. And really, the Ukrainian market is just start to develop in this direction, and the range of the products are very low. So we only have like Kanapteka. They have some supplements. They have chocolates and cannabis hemp-based cosmetics to use. And
okay, Nastya. I think enough.
Okay.
Thank you. Kindly.
Yes, thank you for your question.